All right, welcome to the very first episode of the Courageously Unconventional podcast. I am so thrilled that you're here. If we haven't met before, my name is Lynn Grogan, and for as long as I can remember, I have been interested in how other people live their lives. It's actually one of the reasons I was drawn to becoming a life coach in the first place. Well, at first, coaching was all about helping me feel better about myself and my life, but then I realized that I wanted to help other people do the same. So this podcast is a part of my mission to help people like you accept yourself as you are versus what other people might expect of you or think of you. A few years back, I read a blog talking about Bronnie Ware's book, The 5 Regrets of Dying. Maybe you have heard of this or you might be familiar with this. It was pretty popular for a while. At the time, Bronnie Ware was working in palliative care as a nurse, and she started to notice some common things people would say on their deathbed. She summed it up in 5 regrets. I'll just list them off for you. Number 1 is, I wish I had had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life that others expected of me. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Number 3, I wish I had had the courage to express my feelings. Number 4, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And number 5, I wish I had let myself be happier. When I first heard this list, I was like, yes, I want those things too. And I'm guessing I'm not alone in this because most of us probably don't want to die with any regrets. But then it becomes a question of, okay, so how do you do these things? It seems like it should be self-explanatory. Live true to yourself, don't work so hard, tell people how you feel, stay in touch, and be happier. But as simple as this sounds, it's also so hard for so many of us to accomplish. And why is that? What I've noticed through my many years of coaching is that there is a comfort level and a safety in doing what's expected of you. Basically, if you do what everyone else around you is doing, you're going to be fine, or at least we think that's the case. And that makes sense, right? We are social creatures, and one of the ways that we learn is by modeling what we see around us. But where this gets tricky is when you start to get that itch to do something different in your life. You know what I mean? That itch. Well, what do you do about it then? This is especially challenging if what you want to do is different than what most other people around you are doing. So for me, I got that itch very early on in my life. I wanted to travel and see more of the world. And so I think my family and childhood friends thought I'd eventually settle down, get married, establish a career, and get travel out of my system. And for a while, I agreed with them. For most of my 20s and early 30s, I deep down thought something was wrong with me for not wanting to do all those things in the way that they had them. That I was just this lost person who couldn't figure out the program and enjoy living life in a more traditional manner. But for me, settling down never happened. In fact, I took it even more extreme by becoming a full-time RVer just over 10 years ago. And when my husband and I tried to settle down during the pandemic by buying a house, we quickly realized that that was not for us, that traveling was. So for me, finding life coaching and hiring a coach helped me to start to love and accept myself and how I wanted to live my life. And what also helped me over the years was when I worked for a company where I was coaching doctors. I've never worked in healthcare, and until that coaching job, I had always put doctors on this different pedestal from other people. I imagined that they had these perfect lives, they help people, they make all this money, they're smart and accomplished, and they were basically everything that I had told myself that I should be throughout those many years. To say that I felt intimidated and like an imposter when I started that job would be an understatement. What could I possibly offer to these doctors? So what I learned very quickly, and hopefully doesn't come as a shock to you, is that doctors are human too, with these same human issues the rest of us have. And it turns out that what we all have in common is that sometimes we all feel like we're not good enough, that we're not doing enough, that if we just tried a little bit harder, it did things a little bit differently, that things would be better for us. I learned that what we have in common is that no one ever taught us how to feel our feelings, and that it is really, really hard to not identify our worth with the work that we do. And what I also learned when I listened to them very carefully is that everyone has that itch to do things a little differently and find ways to live truer to themselves. So is this space I found I could be helpful. I mean, I have been designing my own roadmap and doing things in my own way for over 25 years. And if you're somebody who has always had a detailed roadmap to follow, and anybody who is a doctor, a lawyer, or any of those professions that has a really long training period, you have had a roadmap to follow. So it can be scary to even admit that you want to do things differently. I can't tell you how many times in coaching we've uncovered that itch. And then the very next question is, okay, great, I want to do that. What are the exact steps I should take to get there? What do I read? What do I listen to? Where is my roadmap? So at this point in the podcast, I wish I could tell you that I have the roadmap, that I have the answer, and that there's an exact formula for you to go and download. But I don't. And I'm not sorry about that. And here is why that is a good thing. I am going to help you figure out how to create your own roadmap so that it is true to you and something you can repeat for the rest of your life. And the even better news is that you already know where that map starts. The start of that road is the little whisper you already have heard telling you to go that way instead of this way. You can learn to trust that nudge, that itch, that whisper isn't going to lead you astray. Is actually helping to aim you in the direction that's next for you. So while I can't give you a roadmap, what I can do and what I have helped hundreds of other people do through the process of coaching is help you build up the courage and trust that you can figure it out for yourself. And mostly I wanted to create this podcast so that you don't have to go it alone on your journey to figure out how to live more true to yourself. It's actually the podcast I wish I had had when I was figuring this out for myself. So, my friend, this episode is the very start of our journey together to figure out what living true to yourself looks like. If, as you listen, you decide, hey, I kind of want some more help and support with this, I do offer one-on-one coaching where we would work together to create your own roadmap. I'll have details in the show notes about that, or you can go to my website, lynngrogan.com, for more details. But if not, I will see you next week on the Courageously Unconventional podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen and share this with a friend if you think it would be helpful for them. If you have a friend that's like going through it and trying to figure out what's next in their life, this might be exactly what they need to hear. Until next time, bye for now.